Okay, welcome everyone to this masterclass explainer. If you're CBSE Class 12 student, well, you already know the high stakes of your board exams, right? Every single mark counts, and literature. It can honestly either be the absolute easiest place to score or kind of the trickiest trap. I'm your host, and today I'm going to be your passionate literature guide. We are going to completely crack the Class 12 poetry syllabus by mastering the exact thing examiners love to test: poetic devices. So here is our game plan for the day. First, we'll look at the poetic toolkit, then unlocking deeper themes. Third, contrasting devices across poems. Fourth, we'll do a rapid-fire review, and finally, we're going to wrap up with the pop quiz challenge. By the time we finish, you're going to be fully equipped to write those top-tier analytical board exam answers. All right, Section 1, the poetic toolkit. Okay, let's dive into this. Every master craftsman absolutely needs a toolkit, right? And as a literature student, yours is built on understanding exactly how language is manipulated by the poet. So let's start with a highly tested board exam favorite, the transferred epithet. I know it sounds super complicated, but it's really just a poetic device where an adjective that logically describes one noun is transferred over to another noun that's closely associated with it. To really see this in action, let's look at this exact quote from Robert Frost's A Roadside Stand, where he says, "polished traffic." Now, I want to ask you a quick rhetorical question here. Can traffic, like literally a bunch of moving vehicles on a road, truly be polished in terms of its personality or social status? Obviously not, right? The adjective polished doesn't literally apply to the metal of the cars. The trait of being polished, which means, sophisticated and elite, actually belongs to the wealthy city people who are driving those expensive cars. The poet has literally transferred the adjective from the drivers to the traffic. Spotting this? It shows the examiner you truly understand the poet's intent. Moving right along to Section 2, unlocking deeper themes. Now, what's really interesting here is that spotting a device is just a great first step, but to score those full marks, you absolutely must understand why the poet used it. Let's look at how a single technical device directly maps to a central theme. In Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, the metaphor of the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band isn't about, physical jewelry. It unlocks the entire theme of patriarchal oppression. In A Roadside Stand, the irony highlights the tragedy of failed promises where the rich only brought more suffering. And in Keeping Quiet, the symbolism of counting to 12 represents a full cycle, kind of like 12 hours on a clock, giving us this perfect window for deep human introspection. Let's look at another brilliant example straight from your Flamingo textbook. This is from Kamala Daz's My Mother at 66. The phrase "young trees sprinting" is a classic example of personification, simply because, trees can't actually run. But if you only write personification on your exam paper, you are missing the true genius of the line. It actually acts as a really powerful contrast. Notice how beautifully this splits the scene. Inside the moving car, we have the poet's aging mother, representing weakness, an ash-like face, and the painful approach of death. But outside, the poet gives us young trees sprinting and married children. It's this stark, really heartbreaking contrast between the energetic vitality of youth and the heavy, stagnant reality of aging. The device itself creates the emotion. All right, Section 3, contrasting devices across poems. Knowing the difference between similar-sounding devices is honestly what separates an average answer from a brilliant one. Mastering these little nuances will seriously elevate your analytical depth. First up, simile versus metaphor. So, a simile uses like or as to compare two things. For example, Kamala Das comparing her mother's pale face like a late winter's moon. A metaphor, on the other hand, makes a direct comparison without using those words. Take John Keats declaring, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." The beauty isn't like a joy, it directly is a joy. Now take a look at these two quotes side by side. From Pablo Neruda we have, "Let's not speak, let's stop." Juxtaposed with Kamala Das, "Smile and smile and smile." Both involve words appearing more than once. But what is the exact technical difference here? This is a huge trap students fall into on board exams. So the crucial point here is placement. Anaphora is the repetition of words at the beginning of successive lines or clauses, like Neruda starting multiple lines with "let's." Simple repetition, though, is repeating a complete word multiple times within the very same line, like Das emphasizing her desperate attempt to hide her pain. You want a great memory trick for anaphora? Just recall the consecutive lines in the poem Amanda that start with "don't." On to Section 4, rapid-fire review. You're doing absolutely great so far. Now set up straight because we're going to accelerate our pacing significantly here. Here is your high-speed checklist. Enjambment, a continuous flow of thought to the next line without a comma or full stop. Oxymoron, two entirely contradictory terms smashed together, like greedy good doers. Hyperbole, extreme, impossible exaggeration, like an endless fountain. Antithesis, opposing concepts, placed right next to each other to show contrast, like trees old and young. And finally, imagery, using vivid words to paint clear, sensory mental pictures, like smelling musk rose blooms. Let's hit irony real quick. Irony is basically when the actual outcome is the exact tragic opposite of what was expected. Think of a police station getting robbed. In a roadside stand, the so-called good doers promised a better life for the rural poor, but ironically, their arrival only brought deception and continued suffering. And alliteration, the repetition of the same initial consonant sound in words placed close together. Think of that S sound in simple sheep, or the C sound in clean clothes from keeping quiet, which, by the way, isn't just about laundry. Metaphorically, putting on clean clothes means cleansing one's soul of violence. Which brings us to Section 5, the Pop Quiz Challenge. All right, take a deep breath. It's time to prove what you've learned today. Welcome to the high-stakes interactive pop quiz challenge. Question number 1. In Pablo Neruda's line from Keeping Quiet, Fisherman in the Cold Sea, what poetic device is used to highlight the selfish nature of the fisherman? I'll give you a second to think about it. Look really closely at the word cold. If you guessed transferred epithet, you are absolutely right. The sea itself isn't what's primarily being described as emotionally cold here, and this brilliantly illustrates how the adjective cold transfers its meaning. It actually represents the selfish, cold-hearted, and exploitative attitude of the fisherman towards nature. Let's look at question 2. What core device is at work in the phrase sleek, chivalric certainty from Adrienne Rich's poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers? Go ahead and just sound it out in your head. Huge congratulations if you spotted the alliteration. The repetition of that hard C consonant sound beautifully connects the words chivalric and certainty. It gives the line this rhythmic punch that perfectly emphasizes the fearless, confident pride of the embroidered tigers, which is a direct contrast to Aunt Jennifer's own terror. You've done fantastic work today, and your analytical toolkit is looking super sharp. But before you step into that exam hall, I want to leave you with one final question to test your memory. Ask yourself right now, can you locate the exact line in your book where Kamala Das uses a simile to expose her deepest, darkest fear of loss? Go open up your flamenco textbook one last time, find that late winter's moon, and remind yourself of the brilliant mechanics behind the poetry. Happy studying, and I will see you in the next explainer.